Okay. Everybody ready? It is 7 o'clock. We do have a quorum. Call the City Council meeting to order. First item on the agenda is the invocation given by myself, and then the pledge to both the American and Texas flags by Mayor Pro Tem Durham. If you would tonight, I'd just like for us to take some time to reflect and think about someone that you know that has either going through some tough times or has suffered a loss or something like that, because I'm sure we all know someone's like that. So if we would, let's take a moment to reflect on those that we know that are close to us, or maybe our neighbors, whoever it might be, that you know is going through a tough time. Almighty God, we thank you for all that you do for us. We ask that you hear our thoughts and our prayers this evening. We ask all this in your most precious name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor
the Texas flag. Pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, one indivisible.
David, come forward, please, sir. Join me up here, please. We have a special presentation that we will make tonight because of events that's getting ready to happen. And I'm going to give you this proclamation tonight, Ms. Pig, and then I'd like you to say a few words about our parks and recreation and all the things that the citizens have available to them and things that I know that you've worked for many years, you and your staff worked for many years for our citizens here in the community. By the way, this is Wayne Pickett. He's in our park and recreation department. He runs the place. What Bob tells me. Turn here so everybody can see you. This proclamation is whereas parks, recreation, activities, and leisure experiences provide opportunities for young people to live, grow, and develop into contributing members of society. And whereas parks and recreation create lifestyles and enrich life experiences for older members of our community in generating opportunities for people to together and experience. They put these colors behind the words, you can't see the words. Experience a sense of community through fun, recreational pursuits. And whereas park and recreation agencies provide outlets for physical activities, in socialization and stress-reducing experiences, and whereas parks, playgrounds, nature trails, open spaces, community and cultural centers, and historic sites make communities attractive and desirable place to live, work, play, and visit to contribute to our ongoing economic vitality. And whereas parks, greenways, and open space provide a welcome respite for our fast-paced, high-tech lifestyles while protecting and preserving our own natural environment, parks and recreation agencies touch the lives of individuals, families, groups, and the entire community, which positively impact upon the social, economic, health, environmental quality of our community. Therefore, I, Dean Euchert, Mayor of the City of Lewisville, Texas, do hereby claim the month of July as Recreation and Parks Month in the city of Louisville, along with the National Parks and Recreation Association, and encourage all citizens to celebrate by participating in their choice of pleasurable recreation, park, and leisure activities with family, friends, and neighbors, proclaiming this 20th day of June 2011. Thank you very much, sir. Here's a good photo here. Now, share with us a little bit about it.
Well, we always like to take this opportunity to, first off, thank the continued support that we get from our elected body and from the citizens that participate with us year-round. We're very fortunate to have some of the facilities that we do. Many of the neighboring cities are now very jealous of some of the things that we've been able to add over the course of time. And again, we appreciate, again, without your support and without your encouragement, we couldn't have those types of things. As far as we are full blast now into summer that the kids are out of school, so our pools are open, our camps are in full operation, and all of our classes are in full swing now. So if anyone has any questions or concerns or just needs information regarding any of our programs or facilities, we would certainly encourage you to call us and to become involved as quickly as possible. And again, these programs run year-round at our senior center and our rec centers and our parks and our other facilities. So again, we have an opportunity to provide the programs from preschool all the way up to senior adults now. So we, again, appreciate all the support that we get and the participation from the citizens and from our neighboring cities as well. So again, we wanted to thank you for this accommodation tonight and again for your continued efforts towards helping us reach these goals. So thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Wayne. Appreciate it. Next item on the agenda is item D, public hearing. It's a tabled item, consideration of issuing an oil and gas permit for a site located on 1645 McGee Lane, known as the Prologis Gas Pad, as requested by Titan Operating LLC. At the December 6, 2010 council meeting, council approved a permit for the NE-1H well, and a permit was issued on December 17, 2010. During the April 18, 2011 public hearing, City Council approved the well permits for NW-1H and SW-1H and tabled action on the SE-1H permit pending the U.S. Army Corps Engineers approval. Permits for NW-1H and SW-1H were issued on June 9, 2011. On June 3, 2011, staff received correspondence from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers that they were no longer in opposition to the SE-1H well, as Titan Operating realigned the bore path to remain farther than 3,000 feet from any core structures. This gas site has single protected use located within 300 to 500 feet from the edge or plane of permanent equipment that could potentially pose a health or safety risk. As such, before a permit can be issued, the landowner of this protected use must provide their consent to the permit, which they have provided, as well as an affirmative vote of not less than 3/4 of the City Council. Titan Operating has met all provisions contained in the current oil and gas drilling ordinances for this site. Recommendation is that Council approve the issuance of the oil and gas well drilling permit for well bore SE-1H. I have two cards here filled out. One is by Bobby Dolak from G&A Consultants. He's just here to answer any questions if needed. And then also Chris Hammond, who is with Titan, and he is also here to answer any questions if needed. Did Council have any questions of staff or either one of those members?
I'll go ahead and make a motion then to approve.
Well, we got closed up.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is an open. You're right. I apologize.
That's right.
Move to close the public hearing.
Have a motion by Councilman Thornhill to close public hearing. A second by Councilman Guerrero. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now, Mr. Thornhill.
Thank you. Now I'll make a motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve by Councilman Thornhill.
Second.
Second by Councilman Durham. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is item E, the Visitor Citizen Forum. At this time, any person with business before the council not scheduled on the agenda may speak to the council. No formal action can be taken on these items at at this meeting. And I do have one card filled out by Debbie Hilliard. So I do wish to speak to this item. I'll speak at this. Wait a minute. You've got this on item E. Is that wrong, Ms. Hilliard? Did you want to speak? Okay, I'm sorry. If you would come down to the podium and give us your, and pull this microphone over, please, and give us your name and address for the record, please. Thank you. So we can hear, can't hear you back there.
Debbie Hilliard, 517 Pine Street.
Okay.
Yeah, the new train that's going through, the commuter train, it started blowing its horn from 4 o'clock in the morning until late in the evening. How can we, who do we go to for assistance on getting this stopped?
And I certainly understand your frustration, and I'm very frustrated too. However, it is out of our control, but I will let our city manager kind of give you a little bit of direction on that and what the process is on that right now.
I guess the short answer is that DCTA is working on quiet zones for their line with the Federal Railway Authority or administration. They anticipate receiving approval relatively quickly. We're the last section to be approved by the feds, and so I know that they're working real hard and have actually involved Congressman Burgess's office to expedite that approval as quickly as possible. So I can't give you a firm timeline, but I can tell you that it's going to happen. That will shut off the train's horns. What it won't do is at certain locations there will still be wayside horns or horns that are placed at the site itself of the intersection. Those will continue even though it's a, quote, quiet zone.
So how do we know what zones those are?
There's 5 intersections, I believe, Bennett Lane, 121, Railroad Street, Main Street, and the Eagle Point Marina access road at I-35. So those 5 locations will still have lower decibel or smaller horns, and they don't blow as loudly, but they'll still have to be blowing when the train comes through 30 seconds before they enter that intersection. But all that depends on getting approval from the FRA. Once that approval is obtained, there's a typical 21-day waiting period before DCTA can actually implement the quiet zone. So they still have to use the train horns during that transition between approval and implementation. So
they've been blowing their horns for the last 6 weeks.
As they're required to do.
Last week, they started at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
There's no way to get something passed for between 4 and 6?
Nope.
That's a federal requirement.
And actually, the railway's been open to users for years. They just haven't used it at those hours. So if the freight lines had wanted to use it at that hour, they could have used it all these years past and have used it in the past. So there's really...
Previous years.
Well, not recently, I'm saying. In years past, though, they have the freedom and the right under their ownership of those lines to use them as they see fit.
Okay.
It's the rules of the FRA that require the blowing of the horns at those intersections, and so they have the modified process for quiet zones that DCTA has been working very hard to try to get approved, and hopefully that will be in short order.
Did something happen for it not to be approved before it actually opened?
Well, it's just I can't tell you how the feds looked at it and why they approved the Denton section first. And it's almost as if they started in the north and moved south. It could be something as arbitrary as that. I really don't know.
Okay, what?
I will assure you we did everything we could in an extreme time manner. As soon as it was given to us, we sent it on over to, we signed it and sent it to the feds, and now it's in...
And it was in on a timely basis.
So
DCTA had their application
It's them
in.
that's dragging their feet on it.
I'm sorry?
So it's them that's dragging their feet on
The
the quiet
FRA,
zone?
yes.
See, I don't know how hard it is to put up with the baby that just went to sleep and got back up at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So,
As a new grandpa, he probably can understand it just a little bit.
Well, I don't have to worry about it as a grandpa, but
yeah.
as a parent, I did at one time have to worry about that. So.
Okay, that's what I was curious. So you're saying, even after they pass, or they okay it, it's still 21 days after that?
That they use
And
the train
you can't tell me
horns.
when they're going to do that?
Not at this point in time.
Okay. Well, thank you.
I'm sure it'll be something that we put on our website in big bold letters as soon as we hear something from the
Well, yeah, because
FRA.
I mean, we've emailed them, we've called them, we've gotten no response back. That's when I thought, well,
If I could ask,
to come here.
who are you emailing and not getting a response back from?
The NTCA,
DCTA?
DCCA.
We need
And
to
I've
check.
even
We can
called them,
look
and I
into
haven't
that.
gotten calls back either. They got some kind of hotline.
There's a hotline that you should be able to contact somebody, and they should respond to that. If they're not, we'll pass that along.
Would you?
Okay.
That'd be nice.
If you would leave somebody, one of the staff members here, your name and phone number, we'll make sure they get it and get somebody to give you a call.
Okay,
Okay?
all right, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And I understand your pain there. We're trying to get taken care of as best we can. It's just out of our hands right now. Right. Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. All the following items on the consent agenda are considered to be self-explanatory by the council and will be enacted with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or citizen so requests. For a citizen to request move on item, a speaker card must be filled out and submitted to the city secretary. I do not have any cards, nor did I have a council person asked to have it submitted.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion to approve the consent agenda by Councilman Durham, second by Councilman Grena. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item is item 6, consideration of 6 variances to the Louisville City Code, Chapter 9.5, Old Town Development regarding driveways, sidewalks, and landscaping, and Chapter 11, signs for the Old Town Mail Shop located at 225 South Charles Street, as requested by Brett Flory of Cross Architects, representing the owners. The subject site is the former Piggly Wiggly grocery store in Old Town and is being redeveloped and remodeled for office use. Staff has reviewed and approved the Old Town Development Plan pending approval of 6 variances, including A, to allow the existing driveway radius to extend beyond the adjacent property lines at the north entrance of Charles Street and west entrance off Samuel Street. B, to waive the sidewalk requirement along Charles Street and Samuel Street. C, to allow an alternate xeriscape plan in lieu of required irrigation. And D, to waive landscape buffer requirements. E, to reduce interior landscaping to 6.5% in lieu of required 8% of the gross parking area. And F, to allow a hanging sign parallel to the building entrance in lieu of a wall sign. The Old Town Design Review Committee approved the plan on June 13, 2011 by a vote of 4-0. Recommendation, City Council is approve the variances as set forth in the above caption. I do have, did council want to see a presentation of this by staff, or have any questions of staff on this? Okay, I do have 2 cards filled out here. I do have a Tom Hennessy, who is here. He says he does want to speak in support, and he's also here to answer questions. Did you want to speak, sir, or are you just here for answer questions? Okay. If you would, come forward and give your name and address for the record, please, sir.
I'm Tom Hennessy. I reside at 2100 Paradise Lane in Flower Mound, and we're the owners of the Piggly Wiggly, and we're the ones looking to develop that into an office and looking forward to becoming a part of the Louisville community in a business sense. My wife and I met in Louisville and have a lot of fond memories of Louisville. We've lived or worked in Louisville since 1984, and when the Piggly Wiggly property, when we were looking to move our business and take ownership of a property, when the Piggly Wiggly came up, something we really hadn't considered, but it had a certain nostalgic feel to it, having been so much part of Louisville. And when we looked at it, out of all the properties we looked at, that's the one that we just felt a connection that this is the one. If there's any way we can make this happen, we really want to make it happen. And we found Louisville. The Louisville staff and everything that we've done so far working on this property, I found Louisville to be very business friendly and very good to work with. And we also like a lot of what's going on in Louisville. Louisville getting back to its roots and taking a lot of pride in its old town and the history here, and we're looking forward to being a part of that. So.
Was the revitalization of the Old Town area part of a factor in you deciding to come down here?
Yes, it is. It wasn't a major factor. Our business is set up to where we could go anywhere. So we'd even looked as far as Denton and other areas to where we didn't have to have the presence or a storefront where we had to drive traffic to it. So a lot of demographic concerns were an issue, but just the thought of being in Louisville and a part of that, and everybody has been very good to work with, and there's just something special about Old Town, and you just can't get that anywhere. And I just thought I'd share that with you guys.
We're certainly glad to have you here, sir. We appreciate you choosing Louisville.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. And also had Brett Flory. Did you also want to speak, or are you just here to answer questions, sir? Answer questions. Okay. Councilman Grena?
I'd like to add a comment to the gentleman there. I've heard a lot about how well our city staff works with the businesses coming into Louisville, and I think it's just great to hear that kind of news all the time from businesses that do come to Louisville. If nobody has any other comments, I move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion to approve by Councilman Grena, a second by Councilman Durham. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I sure am glad we passed that after giving all the accolades out there.
Oh, yeah.
Just make sure.
I was just throwing my 2 cents in.
I know.
Since I don't get to vote.
I was just waiting to make sure we got it all passed.
What are you saying there, really?
You never know. Just want to make sure we got it passed.
Didn't matter.
I do think people are starting to look more and more, businesses are starting to look more and more down here in the Old Town area because of some of the revitalization we've done with the storefronts and the other areas down here. Makes it a more, like you said, a welcome atmosphere. I think we'll get more businesses, more shops, and more restaurants and stuff down here too, which I know will be a welcome addition for all your employees. So we appreciate you coming. Okay, item 7 is a second reading, consideration of an ordinance granting Encore Electric Delivery Company, LLC, the non-exclusive right to use and occupy rights-of-way within the city of Louisville for the construction and operation of electric transmission and distribution system. The proposed franchise ordinance allows Encore Electric Delivery Company to provide electrical services within the prescribed service area of the city of Louisville. The franchise ordinance has been revised to meet today's standards and continues previous transmission and distribution services for the defined certificated service areas. The franchise term is 5 years with an effective date of August 15, 2011. The first reading of this ordinance was May 16, 2011. Per the charter, the second reading is required. Councilor?
This is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Louisville, Texas, granting to Encore Electric Delivery Company, LLC, its successors and assigns the non-exclusive right to use and occupy rights-of-way within the City of Louisville for the construction and operation of an electric transmission and distribution system, prescribing conditions governing the use of the public rights-of-way, providing for compensation therefor, providing for an effective date and a term of said franchise, providing for written acceptance of this franchise, finding that the meeting at which this ordinance is passed is open to the public, and providing for severability.
Item 8, second reading, is consideration of an ordinance approving a negotiated resolution between the Steering Committee of Cities served by Encore and Encore Electric Delivery Company, LLC, regarding the company's application to increase electric rates in all cities exercising original jurisdictions. At the June 6, 2011 City Council meeting, the Council approved the subject ordinance. However, due to the lack of a 4/5 vote by the Council to adopt the ordinance on an emergency basis, the ordinance has to be read on 3 separate days to meet the city charter requirements. This will be the second reading. The third reading is scheduled for June 27, 2011. Councilor?
This is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Louisville, Texas, approving a negotiated resolution between the Steering Committee of Cities served by Encore and Encore Electric Delivery Company, LLC, regarding the company's application to increase electric rates in all cities exercising original jurisdiction, declaring existing rates to be unreasonable, requiring the company to reimburse cities reasonable rate-making expenses, adopting tariffs that reflect rate adjustments consistent with the negotiated settlement, and finding the rates to be set by the attached tariffs to be just and reasonable. approving Encore's proof of revenues, adopting a savings clause, determining that this ordinance was passed in accordance with the requirements of the Texas Open Meetings Act, declaring an effective date, and requiring delivery of this ordinance to the company and the steering committee's legal counsel.
Good to know I'm not the only one that gets a little tongue-tied every now and then.
I've got a question on item 7. It says here the council must approve the ordinance in the second reading, or is it just the second reading?
Conduct the second reading.
Okay. And council approve the ordinance set forth.
Right.
That's in number 7.
Right. Did we have to vote on 7? I thought it was just the second reading.
No, second
That's just
reading.
incorrect wording.
It's just the second reading.
Okay, I was just reading the recommendations.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was just incorrect. Thank you, Dave. Okay, item 9, consideration of the FY 2011-2012 Community Development Block Grant budget in the amount of $717,942 and acknowledge receipt of the recommended fiscal year 2011-2012 City Social Service Agency Fund budget of $170,000 from the Community Development Block Grant Advisory Committee. The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, has announced that $537,942 is available for Louisville's Community Development Block Grant Program for fiscal year 2011-2012. That is a 15.3% decrease of federal funding. Additionally, $180,000 of unspent funds from the prior years is available for reallocation in fiscal year 2011-2012 for Category 1, which is bricks and mortar projects. The CDBG Advisory Committee evaluated proposals and prepared a draft budget. The draft budget is a step in preparing the annual action plan to submit to HUD for receipt of CDBG entitlement funding. The CDBG Advisory Committee is also recommending allocations from the City Social Service Agency Fund in the amount of $170,000. All Category 2 social service agencies submitted applications for a one-year funding cycle. 3-year funding cycles can be resumed after a new community needs assessment is completed. The CDBG Advisory Committee at their May 17, 2011 meeting voted 4-0 to adopt a proposed budget allocating a total of $887,942 from the CDBG and city fund programs. The recommendation is that the council approve the fiscal year 2011-2012 Community Development Block Grant budget and accept the recommendation for the City Social Service Agency funds as set forth in the above caption. Mr. Kirby, would you give us a presentation on that, please, sir? And we thank you for all the work you do, Mr. Kirby, throughout the year.
Thank you. Mayor and Council, I'll give a very brief presentation to give you an overview of the process that the CDBG Advisory Committee goes through, and just to take a quick look at the budget that they recommended. We do publish a request for proposals and take applications from nonprofit agencies that serve Louisville residents, as well as staff proposals for projects to use the CDBG funds. The Community Development Block Grant Program, of course, the purpose is to use funds from housing and urban development from the federal government to assist low to moderate income housing, neighborhoods, and clients. The advisory committee took presentations, listened to presentations from, I believe, including our staff proposals. We had about 20 different proposals for the committee this year. As mentioned in the agenda item, the Community Development Block Grant allocation for this year is cut by about $97,000 for this coming year compared to this current year. The City Social Service Agency Fund, for purposes of the draft budget, the Advisory Committee used the same amount as last year at $170,000, pending final approval of City Council in your city budget for next year. The committee did consider CDBG and city fund applications roughly at the same time, knowing that they were going to be facing cuts. They didn't find out just how much until about halfway through their process. The committee looked at all the applications, the existing funded programs, and started the process by cutting everybody by 10% just to get to a starting point. They then scored the applications, ranked them by category, and went through them one by one, starting at the highest ranked category. There's a spreadsheet in your packet, and it's a very busy spreadsheet. We put a lot of information in there, so I'll just point out real quickly. The CDBG allocation was $537,942. Again, that's about $97,000 less than the current year. The way that breaks out, the funds, at least 65% of those funds need to be used for community development, what we call our Category 1 or bricks and mortar projects. So that amount for next year would be roughly $350,000. We do, however, have savings in canceled projects and projects that had balances remaining, so another $180,000 is available to the council for housing and community development projects. The canceled projects specifically was land acquisition for Health Services of North Texas. They merged with People's Clinic and sort of changed their strategic priorities and gave back the grant that council had awarded them a couple of years ago. Other than that, we had significant savings, or we had just overestimated in part our street projects and sewer projects that we completed that are now finished in or about to go out to bid, and some of them completed in the Edna Charles neighborhood just south of Main Street. With those funds, we have $530,000 that can be used for bricks and mortar type projects. Category 2 is what we call our social services. Again, we lost about $15,000 from the CDBG program, and administration, Category 2 is capped at a limit of 15%. Administration is capped at a limit of 20%, and we're about $19,000 less this coming year on administrative costs. We come down to the Category 1 projects. Again, the committee looked at each application and gave them used some scoring instruments and then ranked each application and decided to fund housing rehabilitation at the same level that they funded this current year. First-time home buyer, staff suggested reducing. Last year was $150,000 down to $100,000 because home buying has slowed down significantly. Our program has slowed down significantly. There are two proposals from Christian Community Action. The first is for their Family Assistance Center. They're on Mill Street, and this will be the first major remodel of that facility, and they're just using it for the Family Assistance Center portion of that building to reconfigure some of the space to make it more efficient, to provide more privacy for clients during the intake process, and then to upgrade their security system and communications at the CCA building. They also would like to use funds to break out a training room at their 121 resale store. So they will convert a portion of that store into space to be used for clients to have budgeting classes, ESL classes, and computer skills classes. Day Stay for adults has opened in Louisville just over a year ago, and we funded them for rehabilitation of their building in the first place. They came back to ask for funds for remodeling a restroom to make, if they can provide additional space, that they can increase their census of the number of clients they serve, and to meet a compliance deadline for installing some outdoor space for their clients at the Day Stay facility. Those 5 projects were all recommended by the advisory committee. Moving to the social services, Again, the committee ranked each application within a category, and then they gave it an overall rank as well. And then they looked at category by category. We've ranked the city council several years ago adopted priorities of health services, followed by children and youth services, senior services, mental health, employment, victim services, disabled services, and then crisis and financial services. And just to recap, this spreadsheet lists the funds in the past years, total, the amount requested for this year, and then the committee's recommendation, which is broken out by CDBG and by City Fund, with the totals they're recommending. And because because we were cut in the CDBG program, they did recommend most of the agencies receiving cuts, some of them more significant than others. Even though the CDBG program is specifically being cut, the committee has the ability to look at all the agencies at the same time in a joint process, so they did spread those cuts out among agencies that have in the past been funded by CDBG and by City Social Service Agency Fund. They did make room, despite the cuts, they wanted to make room for one new program called Youth on Their Own. It's sponsored by First United Methodist Church and provides afternoon and evening space for homeless teens to congregate, have a safe place to be, and they made an impression on the committee. The committee did want to fund that program. They could not give them as much as they wanted, but they wanted to see what they can do with that program over the next year. Another program, Camp Summit, did not receive funding last year, but has received funding several years in the past, and that was funded again. They recommend funding again for next year. And agencies that did not receive funding included Catholic Charities, who's not been funded before, and Boys and Girls Club, who's not been funded for several years. And with that, if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
First, before we start questions, I just want to say again, thank you for all your work in the CDBG committee, because in my opinion, and I think council will agree, that this is probably one of the, if not the most labor-intensive committee that we have in going through all of the paperwork, all of the backup that you have to determine the viability of these programs and the worthiness of these programs, make sure that you are doing your due diligence to take care of the taxpayers' dollars. And from what I understand, you say your recommendation is that the city continue to give the $170,000 for the social services agencies as they have in the past. There would be no cut in the city's side, but the cut that is actually coming to them is coming from the CDBG federal fund side. So we want to say thank you, and to the committee, we want to thank you for all that.
I did almost forget to add one thing. We had a one-time Recovery Act allocation to the city that was used for sewer line replacement on Edward Street. That did also come in under budget, and we have about $43,000 to reallocate, which we will bring to you with our annual action plan in August. However, tomorrow night the CDBG committee meets, and they have the option of using a portion of that for social services. So they made it would be a one-time, short-term contract, a little bit separate from our usual process, but they may have some funds that will be able to soften the cuts that they've made.
Thank you, sir. Any questions, council? Okay, thank you, Mr. Kirby.
Thank you.
Councilman Thornhill?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll reiterate to James and his committee, as well as the staff that participated on this. I know that many hours and hard work was put in, and it's not easy working with a budget that's already cut 15% when you start out. So thank you again for all your hard work. With that, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve item number 9 as presented.
I have a motion by Councilman Thornhill to approve as presented.
Second.
A second by Councilman Durham. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay. And I'd like to have discussion.
Sure, go right ahead.
I want to explain why I'm voting no. Same reason why I voted last year, so I'm going to quickly hash through this. There's 3 categories, Category 1, 2, and 3. It was presented that Category 1, at least 65% needs to be spent on infrastructure, sticks and bricks. Actually, that's at least. You can spend 100% of it on streets and curbs if we want to. Those streets and curbs are paid for by our taxpayer dollars for our projects. And this federal money, even though I still consider it taxpayer dollars because we also pay through it, that kind of money through our FICA tax and stuff out of our paychecks and stuff. That money, as I said, could all be spent on streets and curbs. And then I want to talk about Category 1 real quick. In Category 1, we have spending money on what I consider non-city property. And $285,000 of that is to help people move into houses by helping them with their down payments and rehabilitation of homes that are dilapidated and stuff, up to $30,000 per house. And I'm going like, I don't think the citizens of Louisville want to use tax dollars to pay for somebody's rebuilding of their home. We learned this from Freddie Mae and Fannie Mac, or whatever, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, spending money on loans and stuff like that and bailouts and everything, and we all complain about the federal stimulus bill, where this money's coming from, basically. And one day it's going to probably go away. Maybe. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball to see the future. But I do know that I'm against spending money on that. And I call it taxpayer dollars because if we don't spend it on streets and curbs, we have to use our tax dollars to fix those streets and curbs. If we give somebody $30,000 to fix up their house, and let's say it does improve that house by $30,000, at 44 cents per $100 of valuation, it'll take 227 years just for us to get the money back on the taxes that would have increased by fixing up that house. I think that we're delaying the inevitable by a house. In my opinion, if we let private transaction be private transactions and the cities take care of what cities do, streets, curbs, fire, police, parks, things that belong to the city, then those things will be taken care of. And I feel bad that somebody would have, dilapidated home, can't take care of the home, but if I don't pay car insurance to drive my car or the sticker when I get stopped, they're going to tow it away. Now, don't get me wrong, I know some people live in their cars, I was told that earlier, but the thing is that it's a sad situation. I'm not trying to make light of it, but I don't think tax dollars should be spent on those things. Now let's talk about part of Category 1, Category 2 is these nonprofit organizations. First of all, they're all good organizations. And I don't have a problem with helping organizations get started with a little bit of taxpayer seed money. For example, the Denton County Children's Advocacy Center, to me, they're a necessity. They offer a service that if they weren't around, we'd have to hire 2 or 3 full-time people just to fulfill the services that they provide. That also goes for CASA and a few others. However, some of these organizations have over $1 million annual budget. Do they need our $27,000 or $30,000? Or in this case, as you heard, do we need to help them build a new meeting room over in one of their stores, the resale shops? Do we do that with all other businesses that are out there? Nonprofit or not, all businesses are for profit. They're out there either to make enough money to pay their bills or pay their people, etc. And that's what they're out there to do. But what we're getting is every year we're getting people asking for money. Some of them well deserve it because they all offer a benefit, but they do help us financially in the long run by having them here, as I gave some examples earlier. Category 3, which is, Category 2 is up to 15%. Category 3 is 20% off the top that we can use for administrative services. That's where if you take the 15 and 20, it's 35% out of 100. There's your 65% for Category 1 that's left. we're also adding some taxpayer dollars to this, and I just wanted to explain why I am voting no. I know that I hold a different view of it than the rest of the council, as you know from the vote. I respect their decision. If I could change some things, I would vote yes, or we could split things up by category, I'd vote yes on 2 of them. But that's where I stand on that.
Okay, we had a motion and a second, and we had a vote.
Yeah, we voted already.
We have vote 3 in favor. Raise your hand if you were in favor, please, for City Secretary. And 3 in favor and opposed. Raise your hand.
1.
3-1. Motion carries.
Mayor?
Yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Any chance for me to add a little discussion?
You go right ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I understand.
I didn't realize you were wanting to say something.
I'll try and keep it short. Having served on CDBG for several years now, and Mayor Carey actually called that the hardest working board in Louisville, and since I haven't been on council long enough, I'm going to say that I concur with his decision so far. A couple of things to note about CDBG. First of all, the city is the residents. I'd like to make that really, really clear. What we do as a city and what we do as a council up here, we are the residents. And the residents have come to us repeatedly asking for these types of funding and these types of procedures. So when we talk about things like paying into neighborhood revitalization and whether or not that's 44 cents on the dollar or something like that, I'd encourage everyone to drive through the Mackenzie-Hembry neighborhood, which was redone through revitalization, both curbs and gutters and homes. And in fact, when you target that money, instead of smearing it out across the entire city, you get wonderful community and wonderful neighborhoods, which is one of the things that Louisville has been really working hard for over the last few years. If you smear it over 100 yards of curb, because you'll find that curb is extremely expensive, you can turn around and maybe put that into a couple of houses if requested by the neighborhood. And you'll find that your overall property values for that neighborhood will go up. You have less rental properties, you have stronger neighborhoods, you have stronger parks. Your overall value, whether that's dollars, tangible or intangible, your overall value of that part of the neighborhood is extremely strong. And I think it's a great thing that we're reopening this revitalization program because the city had done it for many, many years. It allows us to open up our other train areas as well, which are 2 other neighborhoods that have asked for this type of funding in the Old Town area specifically. So I'm encouraged to see that the city is working hard to not only just put in the raw infrastructure, but to keep the floor of our property values at a high level so that we don't end up having to pay more taxes as a result of having dilapidated neighborhoods. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Councilman Gilmore, I apologize for not realizing you had something to say. I apologize.
That's all right.
Sir. Okay, item 10 is consideration of a program guidelines for the City of Louisville Housing Rehabilitation Program. Staff held a public hearing with residents on February 15, 2011 to assess the scopes of needs for housing rehabilitation in the community. After the public hearing portion of the meeting, a policy matrix offering options was presented to the CDBG Advisory Committee for discussion. Recommendations for the Louisville Housing Rehabilitation Program are now being presented to the City Council for consideration. Assistance levels, eligibility criteria, and lien terms are included, as well as several clarifications and administrative terms. Recommendation is council approve the program guidelines as set forth in the caption above. Councilman Durham?
Mayor, I move to approve per the caption and then bring any discussion on that needs to be done.
Second.
I have a motion to approve by Councilman Durham, second by Councilman Gilmore. Any discussion?
I'll be voting no for this for the same reason as the last item. It's a good plan as far as, they're looking at things that they cover, but the reason where the money's coming from and what it's for is what I'm against.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. Item 11 is consideration of acceptance of the resignation from Kevin Connell as the General Growth Properties Representative position on the ad hoc I-35 Corridor Plan Advisory Committee. Declare a vacancy exists and consideration of appointment to fill the vacancy. Kevin Connell, Senior Director of Development for General Growth Properties, was appointed to serve as the General Growth Properties representative on the ad hoc I-35 Corridor Plan Advisory Committee in June of 2010. He has submitted a letter of resignation effective June 3, 2011 from this committee. Leanne Lowry, General Manager of the General Growth Properties, has submitted an application to serve in this position. Recommendation is the council accept the resignation, declare a vacancy exists, and consider an appointment to fill the vacancy of the General Growth Properties representative. Councilman Gilmore?
Move to accept the resignation and declare a vacancy exists. And do I need to add any more to that?
We'll do it a separate one.
Okay.
All right, we have a motion by Councilman Gilmore to accept the resignation and declare a vacancy exists. Do we have a second?
Yes.
Second by Councilman Durham. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Councilman Gilmore.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
if
sir,
we
I'm sorry.
could, and to thank Mr. Connell for his service on the committee.
Yes, thank you very much. And Mr. Gilmore?
And
Councilman Gilmore?
like to go ahead and consider the appointment and fill the vacancy with, who did we have there? With Leanne Lowry. Thank you.
Have a motion to fill the void on the committee with Leanne Lowry.
Second.
We have a second by Councilman Thornhill. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 12 is discussion and consideration of appointments to various city boards, commissions, committees. On June 30th, various terms of office of the city boards, commissions, and committees will expire. Those positions have been identified and current appointees notified. The board, commission, committee appointment process notebooks have been created for the city council's review. Recommendation is council proceed with the appointments to the boards and commissions. Once again, council, I want to thank all of you for dividing up into your teams and going out and interviewing the different candidates that had applied for it. Appreciate all of your help and assistance on that. And the report I got back from you was Councilman Grena and Councilman Thornhill. Your recommendation was to reappoint all those who had, and correct me if I get this wrong, but was to reappoint all those who had asked to be reappointed on both all the committees, which you did, Library Board, Zoning Board of Adjustment, and the TERS 2 Board, and then also nominate Ralph Bressler to the Library Board for Place 1, and Thomas Peck to the TERS Board 2 for Place 2.
That's correct. Do I need to make a motion for that?
We can do them all at once.
Okay.
And then Councilman Gilmore and Councilman Durham once again recommended that all the people who had asked to be reappointed to their boards and commissions be reappointed, and that Frank Vaughn be appointed to the CDBG vacancy place 5.
That's correct, Mayor.
And then I did the Animal Control Board. All those people had asked to be reappointed. I recommend that we reappoint all those people. And then on the Planning and Zoning Commission, recommend Michael Coleman for Place 2 and Jared Varner for Place 6. Someone like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion as you read those appointments, recommendations.
Councilman Green is making a motion to make those recommendations appointed.
Second.
Have a second by Councilman Durham. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Did you get that? Thank you, Pat. Okay. Now we're down to reports. Kika? Bob? Well, tell us a little bit about the tournament. Who's got the what? That's what I want to know. The battle. The badge. Lean forward now so we can make sure we hear this.
Push the button.
Better say it one more time now.
The fire department was victorious again.
I think Chief was just wanting to hear you say it again. It was a great event. We thank both y'all and all your staff that went out there and participated. All of our team members went out and participated. It was a great event. It was a good time. It was hot out there, but it was a fun event and a good time. So we thank both y'all for that. Anything else? Linda, anything? Chief Caller. I was waiting to see if you'd say anything. Gerbo. I always look at Melinda and say Galler when I look at Melinda.
No, sir.
I'm sorry, Chief. Kerbo. I'm sorry, sir. Well, we got some hot weather coming up here. How's our lake surviving?
We're down about a foot, but it's probably about as warm as bathwater right now. We get some rain, we'll be okay, but with the lake's a little bit over a foot low.
So we're going to make it through the summer okay?
We should, yes.
Okay, good. Thank you. Donna, you look like you have something you want to.
I do, Mayor. We have some great activities planned for the MCL Grand over the next couple of weeks. We start tomorrow night with the Sounds of Louisville Summer Music Series. It's free. It starts at 7. We have some great New Orleans jazz with the Gumbo Kings performing. Friday night, we have the Texas Tunes Concert, the Derailers, which is a great Austin country music group. They'll be performing at 7:30 p.m. It's $5 for Louisville residents, $15 for others, and only $10 for seniors. So we want everyone to come out for that. And then finally, July 3rd through the 4th, we have the Louisville Summer Music with Joseph and the amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. You can find information about that at the mclgrand.com website. So we invite everyone to come out.
We still got any money left in the budget? Working on it.
Good answer.
This is budget time, isn't it? Yes, it is. That's why a lot of those doors are closed in meetings. I understand. I hadn't seen a smile on Mr. King's face yet.
Not going to.
He said we're not going to either. Mr. Ferris. Mr. Backus. Councilman Durham.
I just want to remind everybody to be mindful of the weather, the heat, and the storms that come through periodically. Watch out for the animals and for your neighbors, if you would, please. Oh, yeah, and summer school is going on right now, too.
He always mentions summer school, so I wanted to
I
make
keep
sure.
forgetting. I did notice it yesterday at Central Elementary.
Yeah. The school zones are still in effect.
Yes.
I just wanted to make a comment about Battle of the Badge. I was out there all day serving hot dogs and stuff. Let me tell you, it was hot. And I'm not quite sure how much, Chief, do you know how much we raised for the Denton County Children's Advocacy Center?
No, sir, they haven't come out with an amount yet. We will probably get that amount sometime this next week. And
Yeah, we're supposed to have a meeting tomorrow night. I didn't know if you knew yet. But
yeah, we'll make sure to forward it on.
Anyway, thank you. It was a great event. We even ran out of hot dogs. They were so good. Everybody liked it. And I hope next year, our last game started like at 6:30, so it was quite late that they were there. But anyway, if next year if you can come out and help, maybe we can have it at the Railroad Park maybe or something. And anyway, talk about that later. Thank you.
Councilman Gilmore.
I'd like to thank the DCTA and all the Louisville residents and the 73% of the Denton County voters that made the light rail possible. It was a phenomenal ribbon cutting and opening of the line. It will continue to be free for the DCTA portion for the remainder of the week, and you can get more information at dctarocknrail.com. And as I've been wanting to say for a while now, get your family and ride them out on a rail.
Mr. King.
No, sir.
Councilman Thornhill.
I just thank all the voters that came out with this runoff election and participated in the process. I know there were a lot of hot days out there, and Saturday I think we had, 300 maybe people show up, so just want to thank the voters for exercising their rights, and that's it. Thank you.
Councilor? Pat, we want to thank you for being here tonight. We appreciate you, ma'am, and all your work. Thank you very much. As Councilor Thornhill said, I want to thank all the voters for coming out and voting and exercising your right. We appreciate it. With that, and in accordance with...
Oh, Mayor, we were going to mention the canvassing of the election.
Oh, I'm sorry, Pat. I'm sorry. Thank you, Rudy. Good call. Pat, would you tell us about the canvassing and the election results and swearing in, please?
Yes, sir. The canvassing will take place on Monday. It's not on. Will take place on Monday, June 27th at 5:30 p.m. here in the council chambers. And the unofficial election returns for the runoff election held on June 18th. Leroy Vaughn had a total of 907 votes, and Mike McCary had a total of 522 votes.
And then when will the swearing in be done for Councilman?
The swearing in will be the same night. next Monday, the 27th.
Okay. Thank you very much, Pat, and I'm sorry I didn't let you do that to begin with. Okay, in accordance with Texas Government Code, Subchapter D, Section 551.072, Property Acquisition, and Section 551.087, Deliberation regarding economic development negotiations, we now convene in the executive session.
How many teams are there?
I don't know what it was on.
Mike?
Yeah. The whole middle section just got up.
Was it CDBG?
It must have been.
I think it was.
They were here in support of it. Okay, council, call us back in order. Is any action to be taken?
No, sir.
Move to adjourn.
Second?
A motion adjourned by Council Green, a second by Council Durham. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right.
Good night.